OceanGate's CEO, Stockton Rush, was an ambitious entrepreneur, or an evil one. With his plan to create a SpaceX for the oceans, Rush embodied Silicon Valley's "move fast and break things" mantra, pushing innovation to the limits of safety. Like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, he exhibited the confidence and hubris that is common among entrepreneurs who think the world doesn't understand what they do. So Rush was among the 5 passengers who died on OceanGate's Titan submersible on June 18th after it imploded on a dive to see the Titanic shipwreck. Guillermo Sornlein, who co-founded OceanGate with Rush in 2009 and left in 2013, said that the company's founding vision was ultimately to help humanity move towards establishing underwater cities of the future. To do this, they wanted to create submersibles the size of little buses that could carry several people to the depths of the oceans, something that had never been done before. "That's another reason why we kind of called ourselves internally SpaceX for the oceans," he said. "We were solving the transportation problem for these future underwater communities." A long story short, Rush was the local version of Elon Musk. To achieve his dream of making deep-sea voyaging the norm, Rush decided to break a few rules. In meetings with experts in the field, Rush was told that his ambition was unattainable because deep-sea submersibles tend to be made into a sphere shape out of titanium steel and can only accommodate a few people, said Sernlein. "We couldn't find anyone to build the subs for us. That's when we started thinking, okay, we're going to have to use different materials than what the industry's using. We're going to have to think outside the box," he said. In an interview with the Smithsonian in 2019, Rush complained about how regulations curbed innovation, saying, "There hasn't been an injury in the commercial submersible industry in over 35 years. It's obscenely safe because they have all these regulations," he added, "but it also hasn't innovated or grown because they have all these regulations. So in order for us to understand how there hasn't been an injury in the commercial submersible industry in over 35 years, we need to go first on how is submersible tourism itself being regulated." Before we continue, I would like to thank Backwards Girl for recommending this idea for us today. This channel is for you guys, and I'm always open for new ideas, so drop me a comment below on what you would like to see next on Mysterious Minds. Let's continue our today's video. The first fatal accident aboard a deep-sea tourist submersible is certain to raise calls for additional safety regulations, but industry experts say any new measures may be impossible to enforce, given the international nature of the business. Moreover, they say the tragedy of the Titan submersible that imploded during its expedition to the wreckage of the Titanic was an outlier, given that the maker of the vessel opted against certifying the vessel, defying industry convention. All 5 people aboard the Titan, made by OceanGate Inc. of Everett, Washington, were killed in an incident that launched a multinational search and captured the world's attention. Industry experts say they were the first known fatalities in more than 50 years of civilian deep-sea submergence. But even as industry leaders braced for increased scrutiny, they said it was difficult to forecast what sort of changes may come. In the high seas where the Titan and other submersibles operate, there are no regulations and there is no government that controls international waters. Movie director James Cameron, who became a deep-sea explorer in the 1990s while researching and making his Oscar-winning blockbuster Titanic, and is part owner of Triton Submarines, said he would support regulation to require certification of vessels, but it would have to be passed in every country where submersibles operated. "If it's taking passengers, whether they're science observers or citizen explorers, it should be certified," said Cameron, who is part of the small and close-knit submersible community, or manned underwater vehicle (MUV) industry. OceanGate has not addressed queries about its decision to forgo certification from industry third parties such as the American Bureau of Shipping or the European company DNV. Of roughly 10 submersibles that exist in the world and are capable of diving to the depth of the Titanic, nearly 4,000 meters below the surface, only OceanGate's Titan was uncertified. With that said, there were no injuries in over the 35 years because of the strict safety protocols that are designed to prevent accidents and injuries which you need to pass in order to get certified. These safety measures include rigorous training programs for submersible pilots and support personnel, regular inspections and maintenance of equipment, and adherence to strict operating procedures. In addition, submersibles are designed and built to meet high safety standards with redundant systems and fail-safe mechanisms to prevent accidents and protect the occupants in the event of an emergency. Except the one that we all know. Most tourist submersibles explore coral reefs and other natural phenomena at 500 meters or less. Ofer Keter, the president of Submerge, a submersibles consulting and operations company based out of Costa Rica, said he had reassured clients that what happened to the Titan was unlikely to take place in the more hospitable depths that most private submersibles explored. He said regulators could now focus on operations, how and when such vessels dive, but that no governments currently regulated the manufacture of private submersibles. While acknowledging the loss of life aboard the Titan, Keter said, "The facts are the facts when it came to the experimental path OceanGate chose to take." Professionals in this industry are sitting at home right now and holding their heads and saying to themselves, "What a mess. How do we explain this to the world? How do we differentiate between what most of us do and what OceanGate did?" Keter said. So dives in international waters, where no country can impose its law, would remain unaffected. In recent years, underwater tourism has expanded beyond the average snorkeling or scuba diving trip. OceanGate, which began taking tourists on its Titanic tours in 2021, joins a growing number of underwater tourism experiences that expose travelers to the depths of the ocean, but because deep-sea excursions looks much like the buzzy space tourism industry that has gained popularity in recent years, so it rarely finds itself facing government interference. And overall, the combination of rigorous safety protocols, high-quality equipment, which doesn't include carbon fiber, has helped to make the commercial submersible industry one of the safe with a record over the past 35 years. That's before Stockton came and launched a sub without getting certified. With that said, we now understand the regulation in underwater of submersible tourism and why there hadn't been any injuries. But what did happen before the 35 years Stockton mentioned? In 1973, a small two-person Canadian submersible named the Pisces III was being hoisted to the surface by its mothership off the coast of Ireland when things went wrong. A hatch was accidentally yanked open by the mothership's A-frame lift, filling a part of the watercraft with 2 tons of seawater. The submersible instantly sank to depths of almost 1,600 feet with 72 hours of oxygen left in the ship. The 2 crew members were maritime professionals, having served in the British Navy. They also benefited from having not lost communications, allowing them to tell their colleagues on the surface that they were in good physical condition with adequate water and a little food. According to an account by the US Navy, which participated in the rescue, a rescue began almost instantly, grabbing the world's attention for the 3+ days it took to pull Chapman and Mallinson back to the surface. Rescuers ordered them to stretch their oxygen supplies by remaining as inactive as possible. This meant they hardly spoke or moved. That strategy enabled them to stretch their initial 72-hour oxygen to about 84 hours. They basically shut everything down, including themselves, Litwiller said. They basically hibernated. 50 years later, the 5-person Titan submersible is missing at a much greater depth. It lost contact with its surface ship almost 2 hours into a dive to explore the wreck of the Titanic at 12,500 feet. During the rescue of the Pisces III, Chapman and Mallinson's colleagues quickly organized an international rescue effort involving aircraft and ships from Britain, Canada, and the United States. Likewise, the US Coast Guard, US Navy, Canadian Coast Guard, and OceanGate Expeditions, the company that operates the Titan, have created a unified command. French experts who can control remotely operated vehicles that can dive deep into the ocean are also involved. But for the Titan searchers, locating the vehicle appears to be more difficult than for those who participated in the 1973 rescue. As the Titan's oxygen supply dwindles, rescuers are combing through an area twice the size of Connecticut. Rescuers were also unsure whether the Titan is on the surface, on the seabed, or somewhere between. The Pisces III, on the other hand, was able to maintain communications with surface rescuers, and the mothership was able to retain sonar contact with the submersible, allowing it to release 2 buoys to mark the approximate location of the underwater vehicle. In a situation like this, every minute counts. When the Pisces III was found, the oxygen they had left equaled 12 minutes. The rescuers attached specially designed toggles to the Pisces III via cable-controlled underwater recovery vehicles or curves. The submersible was tugged to the surface. Once pulled out of the craft, Mallinson and Chapman took in a breath of fresh oxygen, smiling and waving. Mallinson, who is now in his 80s, said in an appearance on Britain's Sky News about the Titan that he fears something might be seriously wrong for the crew members of the Titan because they have not been able to send out a signal. I would have thought a hammer on a bit of the hull somewhere would be a good transmitter, and it would carry. Going under the sea is one of the most difficult tasks people can undertake. Even the latest technology is ever evolving. But still, the bottom of the ocean is still the bottom of the ocean. We know more about the moon.
Like this video and comment below what is your thoughts about this crisis. Mysterious Minds.